I, 31F, found out my BF, 31M, has taken multiple videos/phots of me naked/in my underwear without my consent or knowledge, and I want to break up with him. My boyfriend and I have been together for about a year, have known one another for almost 12 years now, and have always kept in touch over the years. Dating and entering into a relationship was weirdly easy for the two of us. However, there have been a few red flags that have popped up here and there since we became official that have caused me to keep my guard up. Something happened tonight that gave me a really bad gut feeling. So, I asked to check his phone. He let me, and I found videos of me naked and multiple photos of me sleeping in his bed in my underwear that he took without my knowledge or consent. I am going through a whirlwind of emotions right now, and I want to end the relationship. A little backstory: I was in an abusive and toxic relationship for most of my 20s with someone other than my current BF. The breaking point for me was when I found out he had been recording videos of us having sex without my consent over the years we were dating and uploading them to p/rnh/b, again, without my consent. I have spent years in therapy and still carry a deep-rooted shame and complete lack of sense of control over my own body as a result, along with anxiety and PTSD. My current partner knows this, and still took pictures of me in my underwear and videos of me naked without my consent or knowledge. I feel hopeless. At 31 years old, as someone who has survived physical and sexual assault on more than one occasion, I feel completely hopeless. At this point I just blame myself. Honestly, I constantly think, how do I continue to get myself into situations like this? Honestly, sometimes I wonder, do I have to end my own life to stop people from taking control over my body and using me for their own validation and pleasure? I am just at a loss. I don't know if I'm overreacting because I've experienced past trauma, or if I'm being reasonable and recognizing this as a red flag that should not be ignored or accepted. Edit: I am not okay with any form of voyeurism. He knows this and has known this. I threatened to throw his guitars out the living room window in our apartment this morning. We live on the 3rd floor. If he didn't give me his phone and let me make sure all of the pictures/videos are gone, they're gone. I have a physical on Monday and I am going to seek further/additional therapy. As far as the relationship goes, it's over. I will not be able to trust him again. I am currently in nursing school and we just moved into a new apartment. Moving today is not an option, unfortunately. Luckily there is a guest room I can sleep in until spring break comes and I can move out. I really appreciate everyone reaching out with words of wisdom and support. Can't thank you enough. You've gotten a lot of really good advice here, but I want to invite you to maybe look at the situation differently. Instead of a failure, asking yourself why you continue to get into situations like this, I see this as a win. You got into relationship with somebody that you knew for a long time. That was a good move. You recognized red flags once you started dating and kept your guard up. That was also smart. You trusted your gut and asked to see his phone and found evidence that proved your gut feeling. That was also a smart move. You got yourself out of a dangerous situation before it could have gotten really bad. You protected yourself. Good job. You've proven that you can trust your instinct. You should be really proud of yourself. All of this. Some predators target women who have had trauma and experienced abuse, too. If you haven't read it, I'd recommend Why Does He Do That by Lundy Bancroft. You are not overreacting. This is a huge breach of trust, especially since he already knows your history. Partners have to trust each other not to betray them, because we can't have our guard up 24/7. Unfortunately, he is simply not worthy of that trust. You do not have to end your own life. Your boyfriend should have respected you. Just because you're in a relationship doesn't give him the right to do things like that without consent. Plus, what he did was creepy tbh. You need to find a man who respects you, your body, and your values. Your right to feel violated. He betrayed your trust. It is not your fault that this happened. The fault is entirely his. You have a right to feel safe in your body and he failed to honor that. Please do not end your life. That doesn't help you or anyone else. Question: My wife, 41F, and I, 40M, have a disagreement regarding sex and consent, need input. Just as the title says. We just had a disagreement over a recent situation, but basically my wife is upset that we didn't have sex yesterday or this morning, while I thought she wasn't in the mood for sex. To explain. Before my wife left for work yesterday, when she was getting ready for work, I made a comment about how nice it would be that when she gets home after work, how great it would be to light some candles and, to put bluntly, have sex. The reason I liked the idea was that we had just returned home the day before after our home had 5 days of no power. We live in Texas, and after a couple days no power, we left and went to my parents to weather through the storm. No electricity, and we loved just the look of candlelight in the house at the time. All she said was, "Oh, that sounds sweet," but then continued getting ready for work. When she got home, she and I got some food, and we relaxed watching TV for a few hours. During this time I made a comment about how I saved myself for tonight, and all she replied with was okay. A couple hours later we went to bed. This morning, we were snuggling for a bit. She was enjoying it, but she nor I said anything. After a few minutes, I finally got up, went downstairs to start some coffee, and then sit down to my computer. For some reason my wife got upset, and left to go grocery shopping. When she got home, I asked her why was she upset, but she wouldn't tell me, instead saying you did nothing wrong, just let me deal with my emotions on my own. After prodding and prodding some more, and her telling me she wanted to talk about it, she finally relented and told me I'm upset because I thought you wanted to have sex yesterday and this morning, and the discussion. I told her that she never said yes to any of my suggestions, all I got was that's sweet and okay, nor did she even express she was interested in sex. She countered that her comments were that was her saying yes, but I replied that neither comments meant yes, only that she was affirming my comments and they were too ambiguous. I further explained to her that unless I get a literal and unambiguous yes or I definitely want sex, I assume that she's not in the mood. I don't want to have to persuade or coerce my wife, and I won't push it until I know with 100% certainty that she wants sex. She thinks that we should both by now understand each other and that there should be subtleties and hints, and that we should both by now know each enough to know when we want sex or don't. That we shouldn't have to give each other a yes or no, we just trust each other enough to come onto each other. I told her that I am not a mind reader, and that unless I know for certain, I'm not going to pursue it. While she says that's what makes her upset, that I won't pursue it, come on to her and warm her up to it. At this point, my wife and I want an outside perspective, hence asking all of you. Am I correct in my thoughts about sex and consent, or is she correct that in marriage I just assume and know each other by now that I don't need an affirmative yes? You and your wife have very poor communication that undoubtedly extends beyond just discussion. You all need to learn to communicate more effectively and understand each other's needs. To me the question isn't about content. No one initiated sex. Either of you could have lit candles, started kissing the other or asked, why not skip the discussion and sex now or tonight? You know what, you are right. And my wife agrees as well. Both of trying to mind read each other, instead of either of us taking the initiative and asking outright to each other. Question, does she ever initiate or is it usually you who does so? It's about 50-50 her and I initiating. I think the problem is that she and I don't understand when the other is coming on to each other, and why we have the disagreement in the first place. To her, subtle hints are a way to initiate, so she assumes my comments are the subtle hints, and is upset when I don't follow through. Well, she herself uses subtle hints on me that go over my head. I assume that unless she says bluntly let's have sex, I take the default position that she doesn't want it, and to avoid rejection, I don't bluntly ask her outright, hey, wanna have sex? Some people, myself included, have a reactive sex drive. I find my partner so attractive and I love making love to them and feeling that connection is so important to me, but I rarely feel horny. If they had to wait for me to say, hello, I am down to have sex, let us proceed, things just wouldn't happen. That level of consent is great and so important in any relationship, but having to actually say it every time seems pretty unsexy. It can be communicated in other ways. which is what I think that your wife is getting at with her subtle hints. This is where trust comes in. You can make a move on your wife without her express permission because she trusts you and knows that she can tell you to stop at any time. You can also start slow, kissing her neck, telling her sweet things, putting her hands on you, and check in as you go in a somewhat sexier way that still ensures that she is comfortable. Does this feel good? Do you like touching me? Etc. This isn't coercion in a loving relationship. This is just initiating and getting in the mood. Being seduced by your husband is pretty hot. I would have a sit-down discussion about what is okay and what isn't and what should be done if things do need to be shut down. Things happen more organically with the trust and understanding that there is no obligation to continue and that they can be stopped without anyone getting upset. Sounds like she was hoping for a bit more than I saved myself for tonight. Consent is very important and I respect not wanting to go further, but I think there's more of an effort that can be made, for both of you. Has it always been that way? Just hi, can we have sex? Is there any seduction involved? My dad stormed out after an argument, leaving me, 16 NB, alone, and hasn't contacted me in over 24 hours. Background: I got in a car accident a week before Christmas 2020 while my mom was teaching me to drive and she passed away. My relationship with my dad has been strained ever since and we've barely spoken. I've been feeling like he blames me and working through that feeling, plus my grief and guilt, in therapy. But my dad refuses to seek therapy. We had an argument yesterday and at one point he yelled that I killed my mom, then he just stormed out. After a few hours with no contact I went to stay with a friend whose parents offered me their spare room because I was having some real dark thoughts and didn't want to be alone. I still haven't gotten any word from my dad and when I went home it didn't look like he'd been home at all since he left. I went back my friend's place which is where I am now. My friend's parents asked me if I wanted to call the police and I said no. But now I'm starting to have second thoughts. I have no idea where he went or when he's planning on coming home. He hasn't responded to any of my texts letting him know where I am. We don't have any family he could have gone to stay with. I'm starting to freak out that something might have happened to him, but I'm trying to convince myself it's just paranoia because I recently lost my mom in an accident. I don't know if it would be ridiculous to get the police involved after only a day and I should wait a bit longer. My friend's parents say we should call if 48 hours go by, but I'm not sure if I should call sooner because of how upset he was when he left. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overreacting. Edit: we called the police. Call sooner please. If you're worried about him then call. Even if it turns out to be a wild goose chase, at least you know he's safe. You should definitely call the police. How old are you? Op is 16, it's in the title. I'd probably get the police involved at this point, especially if you're unable to get a hold of him. At the very least, have your friend's parents try calling him. Look, Op, regardless of what happens with your dad or other stuff, he has demonstrated that he isn't in a position to parent you right now. If you really don't have other family members you can reach out to, try to figure out what friends you have who may be willing to let you stay and have some normalcy at this time. It's not going to be a healthy place for you at home for a while. You may not want to think about this, and you may not believe it, but it may not even be a safe place at home for you for a while. People can say and do strange things when they're grieving. It can create mental issues that make them act like people other than themselves. It's not fair, but you need to look out for yourself right now. First, you should figure out how long you can stay with your friend's parents, and try to hang out with them and help out and live a normal life for as long as you can. Second, your school and local police department have resources for people like you. You just need to talk with the right people. It may help to go to the local police department and speak to officers you know, or someone who is familiar with your situation, and explain what's going on. They can help you get a place to stay or hotel room if the need arises, and can help find out what's going on with your dad and whether it's safe to go back to living there. I volunteer at my local PD helping with this kind of stuff. Feel free to PM me if you have any questions. I'm sorry that you're going through this. It's a lot for anyone to handle, especially at your age. Good news is that there's a community of people around you who want to help. They just have to know what's going on.